What's happening, everybody? Okay, so this is something I wanted to talk about. I've been obviously busy with a few other things, and it just seems to keep coming back, I feel, with various people talking about it. So I felt like I might as well give my 2 cents on Mr. Tyler, the Creator's opinion on this. Now, I just want to remind you that I'm the guy that made this video. Inception shit. You're not the only one who thinks Tyler, the Creator sucks. I think pretty much everything I said there still holds water. So if you haven't seen this video, I recommend checking it out. Anyway, Tyler, the Creator was on the Maverick podcast, and he said some stuff that I think is reverberated towards the industry in a way, right? I mean, certainly among content creators, I don't know if it's necessarily like the industry cares what Tyler thinks about this, but certainly online people have been feeding on it. So let's see what Tyler, the Creator has said on this.
I don't want to seem like a hater. Stop. I have hater energy because I just think I'm that good.
Tyler's a hater, in my honest opinion. He's coming into this as a hater. I've seen this already, and this is player hater talk, and I'll tell you why.
I don't want to seem like a hater. Sometimes I have hater energy because I just think I'm that good. People be like, well, you signed up for this. No.
Is your frustration then because you care about this art form so
Dude,
much?
I love this art form so much, bro, and there's so many niggas out right now that aren't musicians that are...
Okay. Tyler loves this art form so much that he doesn't actually make rap music. Like, let's be honest here. If you look into Tyler's catalog, it's not really rap. It's very much, again, as I've said, this is sort of like that. There's a bit of that rock element. It's very aimed at a young white skater audience and all that shit. And then it just went even more and more R&B over time. So when Tyler's talking about he's such a huge rap fan, you haven't made a single song that a rap fan like myself can go, yo, that's my shit. You don't speak for heads. You never have. So, you know, you're just another vulture, my dude. Respectfully.
that are getting treated like musicians because they make meme records.
Meme records. Okay, this guy is one to talk about meme records. Go back and try to watch some of that dated ass Odd Future bullshit. Okay, those videos where they were riding on skateboards. All that shit was meme records. Okay, they weren't making no damn songs. They would make some song like Skinny Fat or Skinny Fat on Blood, and then they would just record themselves eating potato chips on a couch or whatever, and then they're bleeding, and then a cockroach. Like, it was goofy shit. That's meme shit. There was no meaning behind any of that shit. And it was a lot of videos, and it was aimed, again, at a very young audience. Okay? Just like the cats that do this stuff now, who make memes for a young audience, or I would say definitely more casual, less discerning audience. And that to me was Odd Future. Yes, Odd Future were a little more subversive in the sense that they weren't doing songs with Taylor Swift, and they weren't trying to. They were definitely trying to be, like I would say the ICP. To me, they were in that vein. Like they were trying to do that kind of shit. But again, that's not no rap shit. Okay, that's not no deep shit. A lot of that shit was corny, meme-like shit. And a lot of it went to YouTube. It was all, I was there. I remember those days, right? The difference now is that, yes, of course, we have memes. We have different social media platforms, whether it be like a Twitter or an IG that didn't exist back in the YouTube era or when the YouTube era started coming up, right? But if Odd Future had debuted in this era, they would do exactly the same shit, right? Because that's their audience, that's their vibe, that's what they do. So Tyler's one to talk, in my opinion. And this to me is what a player hater does. A player hater hates on people who do the same thing that he or she does, but they're just doing it better now, or they're successful now where he is not, right? And so he hates and pretends that there is a bigger philosophical or virtuous reason, right, why he's putting these people down. But in truth, he's just being a player hater, because deep down, I feel like Tyler wishes he was back in that position again, where he could do that meme shit.
Publicly will be like, I don't give a fuck about music. I just do this shit for money. Like,
okay, so I feel like I've seen Tyler say, again, trolly shit, right, when he was younger. Now, he wasn't necessarily saying I was in it for the money. I don't know about that part. But I definitely had that. There was that attitude of, I don't give a fuck about rap like that. Like, I'm just out here, like, having fun with my gang type of thing. And, like, we just do some turned, LA kids, whatever. I don't know. So again, that seriousness of taking this like I'm gonna make something like an art form. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna construct something. That wasn't there. That was never there.
The Spider-Man meme of like the next nigga, when every publication is like, hell yeah, let's put that out. Now you taking up space for niggas like me.
So again, player hater, because again it comes back to what Tyler wants, and really it's about him, right? Because he's like, I'm not getting hurt because these meme guys are out here and no one wants to hear my garbage, right? Player hater. That's how a player hater behaves. So now, the other thing that that also sort of caught some attention was when he was talking about this cat named Ian, who I have never heard of, and thanks to Tyler, now I have an idea of who this person is, unfortunately. So he's talking about this white rapper named Ian, and saying how he's shocked, essentially, that Ian is around. And I'm like, do people not notice that these two look the same, similar? They're dressed similar? Who the fuck do you think Tyler was making music for? He was making music for Ians. He would put Ians on his shirts and stuff. Again, if you watched Odd Future stuff, you know. So again, it's a little rich coming from Tyler, the creator, talking about, yo, this white kid, he doesn't even respect rap. Nigga, this was your audience. These are the people that you made music for. Straight up and down. You literally were like, I'm going to put these guys on the pedestal. Fuck the black community and fuck real hip-hop taste on any level. I want to appeal to the Ians in the suburbs of LA that we're just some wild skateboard, essentially white adjacent type of dudes. And that was the vibe that Odd Future always gave. So again, it's weird for me. And Tyler's always been weird like that, right? Where it's like, he'll say something where it's like, it's almost like he seems like he's speaking for the black community, or it's sort of, he's speaking from a position of a black man. But it's like, bro, like everything about Odd Future screamed white people to me, respectfully. And like, that skater white, that casual white, right?
This white kid, regular like Caucasian man, and he's like mocking Future and Gucci Mane, like, rap music, and like people are like, this shit hard. It's not even like satire. It's like, I'm just joking, I'm just mocking it. But I'm like, no, you can't do. And I hold rap music so close. Me too.
Yeah, I don't believe you, Tyler. I don't believe you, because you've never made a rap record worth hearing. So I know you don't. You're into that alternative type of shit, right? It's not rap. You're just, rap, you used rap to come in because that's how rap is. Rap, especially after the in the mid 2000s, 2003-ish, 2004, when it started to really, really go downhill, and you had the vultures. I mean, there were always vultures, but the vultures just seemingly multiplied. And so you came in under that wave of essentially vulturing rap. But deep down, you don't have the sensibilities of a rap lover. Because you don't even put it on record. I know the difference. Again, we talk about A$AP Rocky, who I'm a fan of. A$AP Rocky loves rap, I can tell, right? You hear it in Live Love A$AP. You make the things that you love. If you're, singing, your what's that, centaur? Like your top is human or whatever. You're a centaur in the forest, and you're kind of singing over some like warped like instrumental that doesn't really have no bass to it and has no real groove. And then you kind of rap, but then you're singing. Like, clearly you're not that interested in Nas, Mobb Deep, Rakim, Tribe Called Quest. You can pretend to be, but we also know that deep down, those are not your influences, okay?
To my heart, because this shit changed.
Tyler reminds me, he's like a really whack version of Pharrell. And I feel like he's grown into this in a sense. Because when he first came out, that wasn't clear. But at some point, that sort of what became his identity. And in a sense where he's like, he literally aligned himself, I think, very closely with Pharrell. Because Pharrell is essentially I want to say the greatest suburb mind we've had in hip-hop from a producing perspective. But, there's a lot of like low-key suburban black folk who've been in rap who've done some great shit. But the point is, Pharrell wasn't like, there's nothing about Pharrell that says hood, right? Like, he wasn't presenting himself that way. He was just like a black kid who's really talented, who's into music, who loves rap music and had great instincts and was able to like take rap to another stage. So I feel like Tyler's trying to do that, right? And Pharrell would do stuff. Obviously, he had NERD, and again, he was, he really told that line really well, because obviously he had the street records, a ton of street records, but then he would also do stuff like NERD that was, again, aimed at a more suburban type audience, the kind of audience that Tyler, I'm sure, would want to have, right? So anyway, I feel like Tyler's kind of following that footsteps a little bit.
My life and everyone's life around me, and I'm a nerd about this shit. This is like weird, and I'm looking at it, and something about it like don't even sit well with me in comparison to someone like a Mac Miller or Eminem, who it didn't seem like they was mocking it. They had a genuine love for it.
Again, I disagree. Definitely Mac Miller didn't seem like he was mocking it. And I think, again, this is why, I liked Mac Miller, I would say, almost from the get-go when I heard Nikes on My Feet. I'm not a huge Mac Miller fan. I don't think he was like a superb rapper by any means. But when you look back on those videos, they felt fresh. And it did feel like, oh, here's a suburban kid who just loves hip-hop. He's into it and he's like having fun with it, type of thing. And again, making it himself. He's in the suburbs. He's, it's like nice and sunny in Pittsburgh. It's clean. He's not pretending to be from the hood. He's not, hi, my name is, talking about, Will Smith and trying to mock black people on the low, or, goofy shit that Eminem was kind of doing, right? He was just making rap and talking about what it's like to want Nikes and like, white girls in high school or whatever it was Mac Miller was rapping about. So I agree with him saying that there is a difference, obviously. Absolutely there's a difference. And there's, again, like anything, there are a lot of non-black people who are into rap and they genuinely love rap and they like... Now, the difference is it's always a subset. There's people who actually don't really care for hip-hop in general, right? That's usually the majority. And then there's people that genuinely like hip-hop, but they don't really like the people that come with it, okay? AKA the blacks, right? The Hispanics. And then there's an even smaller subset of who I'd say are very real people who are not black, non-Hispanic, but actually love the music, actually, know black people, know Hispanic people on some level, or at least are open to having like a meaningful conversation relationship with them and actually like them as people. Because typically one of the problems of being a minority is that people will like our art form, right, but they don't like us, right? And it's very clear, and it's not just, obviously, it doesn't just happen to only black folk. This is something that all minorities go through. Obviously, it's a little more pronounced maybe on the black side of things, but it's like, yeah, we'll take your product, but we don't want you, right? So, yes, I agree that I think that Mac Miller didn't really give off that vibe. He just gave off that, like, I genuinely like this shit and I have fun listening to this and making it too.
And they were still just being,
Sure.
swipe.
And that's also obviously why Mac Miller, Nikes on My Feet is, one of the best songs I've ever really heard from a white rapper. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, like when things are genuine and you have some sort of intellect and charisma and ideas, and you're creative, you'll probably make something listenable, right? Or watchable for that matter. So anyways, Tyler talks about Ian. I'll get into Ian a little bit later, but you're not the only one that thinks Tyler the Creator sucks. For me, it's just weird to hear Tyler say this shit because, again, I'm old enough to know to remember how Tyler came into the game, right? And he's become the old head hating. He's younger than me too, actually. That's why I think it's funny. He's the washed old head player hating at this point. And that shit's always really wild to me, honestly. Now, this is interesting because Rob Markman. Shout out to Rob Markman. I feel like he watches my shit on the low, but anyways, I watch a fair amount of people. At least I go in here and there and I check and I see what are people saying. Who's got like good analysis. Obviously, your boy is still hitting y'all over the head with the best shit, but waiting for these niggas to catch up. In general, I am starting to see a little bit of catch up. Sometimes when I look at forums now, I notice that people on forums are actually talking about the beats for once on a song and the flow for once in the voice. People weren't talking about this shit. This is one of the things that I'm going to take credit for in a major way, because a lot of these so-called hip-hop historians, or not historians I'd say, but commentators, tastemakers, people on YouTube, whatever, they were not talking about the music, right? Not at all. They were just, you know, like you look at Needle Drop. He's not talking about like the beat. He wasn't even really talking about the vocals on any deeper level. He was just like, oh, okay. Sometimes he'd be like, oh, that's a nice beat, but that's it. And he was always spending all this time on the lyrics. And I was like, this is how a casual white dude listens to rap. And I don't care what someone like that's opinion is. Ultimately, it's not going to matter because hip hop is a beat and flow driven sort of genre. And I think that discourse is starting to spread. So, and I notice now people starting to kind of go into it a little bit more. And I'm happy for that. Look, at the end of the day, I just want rap music to get better. Okay, that's really it. I do this channel for fun. I just want hip hop to improve. So, anyway, Rob Markman here is talking about how when he tried to interview Tyler back in the day, that it was a bit of a struggle because, you know, Tyler the Creator was on his meme shit, right? Which is true. Essentially, he didn't say those words. But it's just, again, interesting how Tyler's now this older statesman who's talking about, man, these young kids don't take music so seriously. But, Rob Markman's talking about, yeah, but when I was trying to interview you back in the day, like, you weren't taking that shit seriously either. You know what I'm saying? And, you were being goofy, and that was kind of your image and your aesthetic. And the kids, if you don't show value for this music and you don't show that it's really worth something, putting in, like, real serious thought into it, then why do you expect the kids after you to do the same? I don't know. Anyway, so I'm sorry here. One of the things that always used to bother me about Tyler, I don't know if I said this in my You're Not the Only One Who Thinks Tyler Sucks video, was, I never really liked, aside from all the edgelord shit, because again, he kind of took that from Eminem, that sort of like, mocking stuff, fake rage raps, fake sort of queer raps, and, and basically making music for young Ians of the world. I never really liked Tyler's overuse of the N-word, right? Or the nigga word, right? It always used to rub me the wrong way, because it's like, again, you're making a music that is very, very targeted at a non-black, a very, very white audience, right? And so for you to just overdo it is like, but again, you have to do it because it centers your music, right? This is the power of the N-word, so to speak, right? And this is why we continue, or I should say, you continue to hear it in music. The truth of the matter is that white America loves the N-word. That's a whole fact. That's why people still use it. That's why rappers use it. They want to hear the shit. Because let's be honest, when society, white America, decides that they don't want to hear a certain word anymore, you don't hear it, right? And you already know what I'm talking about. And I'm not saying that we should be out here. I do think that there's certain things, certain decisions that are made that I kind of respect, and I say, okay, you know what? Yeah, right? Like we should have more respect and recognize that we're being homophobic, for example, when we say certain things. So let's kind of cut that out. It's a little ugly. I respect that. I've always respected other people's sexualities and things like that. And, as a minority, I would never want to see another minority group get oppressed. But again, it's just interesting how, like, that word has just been completely and very quickly, too, taken out of rap music and just music in general, but we still say it constantly. I just think that's interesting. But again, shows you what people's priorities are. Now, anyway, so here's Tyler. Not taking shit seriously, right? In this interview.
You could just expect some heaters. We got some hot producers, some hot collabs, man. 2010, we grinding. We just been cranking out, man. These man, they think we playing. We pray. Don't make me pray for these God.
So this was
that's goofy, okay? That's corny. I mean, it's you said what, like 5 times in the span of 15 seconds. Again, this was literally some of the shit where I was like, Tyler's so corny, right? But hey, he has his audience. His audience wants to hear that kind of shit. Now, Rob has this really interesting story about how he got a DM from Jizza back in the day. Because you'll remember, anyone who was around back then remembers the whole Odd Future equals Wu Tang thing, which was like, what? I mean, but it turns out, and this is the thing that kills me about hip hop, right? There's the journalistic integrity has gone to such shit and such zero. No one's gonna push back. It's all marketing and relationships. So if some guy who's just as publicist says something, you just run with it, right? Now, I'll let Rob Markman tell you a little bit about what he's experienced here.
And it had clicked to me back then, like shortly after I put together that it wasn't Jizza who DM'd me. It was Heathcliff DMing me from the Jizza's account, pretending to be Jizza to be, hyped about our future or something like that. Or, it was something in that realm, but something didn't seem right. But I kind of just wish he would have hit me up straight up and said, yo, man, I represent this group called Odd Future. They're really dope. Check it out. Because they were dope.
No, they weren't. I disagree, Rob. I'm sorry. No, he needed to run the cosign. We all do the cosign thing. I mean, as in we, the modern day hip hop community, the cosign thing is important because you wouldn't listen to the music otherwise, right? Let's be honest here. They're not good, right? Odd Future was trash, right? With the exception of obviously Frank Ocean, who was not really like sort of an Odd Future guy in a sense. He wasn't rapping, he did singing, and he came in kind of like later. Like the Odd Future, skateboards, bleeding, eating cockroaches, that stuff was garbage. All that stuff is like no one plays that stuff really anymore. I'm sure there's maybe every now and then maybe some old Odd Future stan might play one song here and there, but rap has moved the fuck on from them, okay? So anyway, my point is that no, they needed the cosigns, okay? At the end of the day, that's why it was done. But Rob brings up a really interesting point by admitting this, and this is why I never care about cosigns, because cosigns are agendas, okay? First of all, the fact that Jizza's not going to listen to Odd Future. Jizza's not the kind of person, like, again, he's too old, like, it's, he's a thinking dude, like, if he's like, I like Odd Future, I'm going to be like, who's your publicist? Does your publicist manage Odd Future, Jizza? And anyways, this is literally what this is about. So many of these cosigns in this business come about because of industry relationships. Some of it is, borderline fraudulent, like in this case where someone pretending to be Jizza, but is actually runs the social media account of Jizza, who's actually probably some white dude, or I don't know, I'm assuming, that actually loves Odd Future, is like, yo, you should like Odd Future, they're the new Wu Tang, right? And that's how this like bullshit narrative starts. But the point is that's why I don't trust cosigns, because I know a lot of that stuff is fake, and it actually doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Just because you like something doesn't mean that I like it. And that's one part of it. And number two, agendas. I don't like agendas. You should always think, and I'll probably talk about this in another video, right? This is the Machiavellian side. But people in power have very vested interests in things. Okay, so whenever you hear something, and people in power want to control how you think. And I'm not talking about some, Illuminati shit, and, I wish I had the effect now. I'm just talking about in general, okay? There's a battle for your mind and what you think about things, because that's going to affect your spending habits, your behavior patterns, and all kinds of shit. So my point is, when people tell you things, you should always consider, what is the agenda of this person saying this shit? What could be their possible agenda, aka their bias? What do they want out of you by spreading this narrative or whatever, right? I mean, that's just a basic question. So if you're telling me that so-and-so is really dope, my first question is, do you work for them? Do you manage them, right? And now I ask some real questions. But of course, in modern hip-hop, nobody asks any questions. They just slurp, right? Pause. All right. Now, I do think that this was kind of funny where he says...
Yonkers is just incredible, but it had always stood out to me when he said...
He always... Okay, so he's about to quote a line that he's like, yo, this really stood out to me in some ramen shit.
Oh, I'm an overachiever, so how about I start a team of leaders and pick Stevie Wonder to be the new wide receiver? I thought that, like, just the inner work.
I'm sorry, Rob. That's trash. That's trash. I'm an overachiever, so how about I start a team of leaders, okay, and pick up Stevie Wonder to be the wide receiver. So corny, first of all, because you've got Stevie Wonder. I know he talks about using Stevie Wonder for something different, but again, you're throwing in the Stevie Wonder thing. It's still corny, doesn't make sense. Be the wide receiver. So now we're talking about football, team of leaders, where in a football analogy. See, like, these things, those two images don't match. And ultimately, I don't know what he's trying to say about having Stevie Wonder be the wide receiver. So it's just for shits and giggles, you're gonna have a blind a blind guy be in the football team, but was that part of your football team? Because football teams aren't teams of leaders. Anyway, it's one of those things. Now, you might say, yo, I told you nitpicking. But again, good writing is clear and doesn't try to do too much. I mean, this is just the true reality of it. It doesn't try to do too much while doing so little at the same time, right? It just says what it needs to say, right? Green paper, gold teeth, and pregnant golden retrievers. All I want, fuck money, diamonds, and bitches don't need them. Green paper, gold teeth, and pregnant golden retrievers. See, this is that Odd Future nonsense, okay? So, because, see, this line, green paper, gold teeth, like, all I want, fuck money, diamonds, and bitches, whatever. It's a pretty standard, you've heard that sort of phrase before, you've heard sentiments on that nature. So what Odd Future or what, Tyler's trying to do is, I'm edgy, so pregnant golden retrievers. But it's like, huh? That's that, like, shit that I don't really like when people do that at random, right? Like, weird for the sake of weird is corny, and it's inauthentic, and it doesn't go anywhere, right? Weird with because the truth is, you should really always strive to be authentic in whatever way you're trying to be, right? So when you chase authenticity, right, and I mean in terms of expression, right? When you're authentic about what you're passionate about and you put yourself forward, and then you happen to maybe have a slightly stranger taste than others, that's cool shit, because now you're expressing in a way that's authentic, and I go, oh, that's kind of weird, but I get it. That's authentic, and actually it's authentic to you because your experience is not isolated, right? It speaks to maybe a larger subset of people or even society in general, where it's like, yeah, that seems weird, but it's actually really not that weird. Whereas when you're just like green paper, gold teeth, and cockroaches in a barrel, right? It's like, what? Garbage. Anyway, now I want to talk about Ian. So my man Eric the Young God, if you get a chance, watch this. Again, this is what made me kind of say I should probably talk about this, and I thought it was funny because, again, I'm older than Eric, and I think we had a conversation going back. Shout out to Eric, but it's just interesting to see how he's quite a deal younger than me, and he's like, man, this rap shit's stalling the fuck off. It's like, yeah, man, it fell the fuck off decades ago. Like, you sound even more washed than I do, respectfully. So, my man was out here basically talking about why is it that Ian even sounds like that? Like, why is he doing this sort of like future mannerisms and stuff? And I'm like, yeah, man, rap is terrible. I don't know if you've noticed, but it's been this bad, and it's been this way for literally decades. Okay? You see, the problem is when I listen to, Ian's Never Stop, it literally sounds like a shitty version of Karate Chop, right? Never Stop, Karate Chop. It wouldn't shock me if they were listening to Karate Chop and were like, it'd be kind of funny. It would not surprise me. And that's the problem with white rappers in general, okay? They never want to advance the art form. They don't have to. They're lazy as fuck. All they do is just copy shit. And that's why when you see rewind artists in particular in hip-hop, they're always sort of like, their shit's always some throwback to some weirdo, some lame shit, like a super, super duper throwback. They're mostly speaking to a white audience. Because, again, this will sound, harsh or whatever, but a lot of white people like things safe. Not all of them, but there's a fair amount of that like that safe shit. Because when rap comes out, and when it comes out with a new sound in particular, it's unsafe, and people go, right? So when you're doing that, and the black community is pretty savvy, I would argue. Like, yes, there's a lot of us also casuals and things like that, but in general, the black community is pretty savvy. Like, we try to be on the cutting edge of shit, especially in these kind of things like music, because these are some of the fewer art forms and lanes that we have to actually express ourselves, make money, that whole thing. So brothers, sisters are on the cutting edge. It's usually everyone else that's got to catch up. And this is my whole point. That's why you see these white rappers. They're never doing some next level shit. It's always just some retread shit. And it's usually mad lazy. And, the truth of the matter is that Ian is not the first rapper, white rapper, to mock rap while purchasing it or, trying to make it. It's kind of like, I remember Asher Roth. Sorry, but this was the most terrible shit at one point. Luckily it kind of flopped. Jesus Christ, 36 million views. I listened to this bullshit album when this came out, and like Larko My Go Kart. I remember this stuff was like, this was garbage. And on his album, I think he had Busta Rhymes, and he had some like notable rappers on that debut album. Okay, but again, this is that frat boy sort of like, I don't take rap seriously, sir. Rap is fun and it's not serious at all. He, right? So Ian's not the first, and he will not be the last. Right? It's sort of a, if I had to guess, it's almost like their way of coming to sort of racial terms, that they're listening to something that's like, sort of really smart and threatening. So they're kind of like, by them turning into a joke, it's kind of like putting black folk in their place. And again, I know that sounds harsh, but this is the way I see it. Right? It's almost like, no. Like, it's not really as gangster. It's not really as, like, potent. Right? Like, yeah. This is like where I feel threatened, but no. It's not like these guys are not doing something super creative. It's laughable. It's funny. Like, it's their way of downplaying the potency of the shit. And that's why you'll see them sort of like simultaneously sort of mock new shit in a way, new sounds, but also chase. It's particularly the harder shit, the street shit. You know what I'm saying? They'll just do goofy videos. Like, for example, MOP. Annie Up, Sesame Street. I'm pretty sure somebody did Bert Ernie, MOP Hip Hop. It's a way of like, Annie Up is too violent, right? Like, it's kind of like their way of being like, okay, let's add some comedy here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know that this song is crazy and it's getting people to think differently and really inspire them. And no, we can't have brothers doing that. So let's just kind of make it a little corny, he, right? And add some humor. Right? Or this is the one. Look at this shit. Broken language. See, look, Smooth the Hustler, Palmer Squares. Who the fuck are Palmer Squares, right? Palmer Squares are a bunch of white boys who rapped over the broken language beat. And I remember they got views fast over this shit. They got 1 million views on that. Right? Nonsense. But that's the whole point. You see something that is like real cutting edge, some real, like, just some sharp, legitimate black creativity and, rage. Because black folk are angry about a lot of things, and we channel that in our music and our art. So it's like, no, we gotta subdue that, and that's where you get all this corny shit. Look, listen. At the end of the day, man, race matters, whether you like it or not. When you're young, you kind of choose to like not notice it. You don't know as much about it, or you willfully avoid it. But clearly, race matters. Okay, we are literally living in a time right now where people are running around trying to figure out how they can exterminate Jews, who are a race, okay? Race is a thing, right? This is the problem. And like when you pretend it's not a thing, or you try to, sort of, you say, you kind of sweep it under the rug, it's there, right? The best thing is to just be honest about it and deal with it, okay? It doesn't mean that, we should always be stuck in our racial boxes. I'm not saying that at all. Again, I like to be forward-thinking. I'm a forward-thinking person. I love all kinds of people. But the point is, race does matter. And these are things that we have to reckon with and just try to, improve our societies, right? Look, we noticed back then that rap was turning into a minstrel show, right? And the truth of the matter is that it's been a minstrel show probably since the late 80s, if anything, or even the 90s. Maybe, like, around the Bad Boy era or whatever, or even a little bit before that, it started turning, NWA, to me. Remember, I've said that NWA changed rap with that. Elif Zagin, right? In particular, especially. But, that minstrel performative for knowing that there's an audience outside of the black community that's invested in black gangster and dysfunctional tales and performing that, knowing that, look, that's for them. They fucking want to see this shit. And I can make a living. It's minstrel show shit, right? Literally. It's literal minstrel show shit. So rap has been that way for a long time now, a really, really long time. We were having these convos back then. And what's interesting is that, now I wasn't living in, the North American world in the 90s, but I feel like the artists were talking about this stuff. And even being in Saudi, I was hearing, you'd hear, for example, Mau Mau's Black is Black. I mention this all the time, but I know that Spike Lee did bamboozled, and artists were talking about how this stuff was turning into a fucking minstrel show. Jerry the Damage of the bullshit. So the artists were kind of talking about it. I don't know if the audience was actually talking about it as much, but artists were certainly talking about it. And I do think it's interesting now that the artists were ahead of the curve in some ways, but I think, you know, they weren't really rewarded for that. And so now the artists, you just get a sense that they've given up. It's like, I don't care. Like, you guys didn't listen. We said it was a minstrel show. Y'all don't give a fuck. And, you know, whatever. Right? You know, Tyler says something here where he was like, you know, 2003 was when shit was, you go back to 2003, Pharrell didn't sound like this, didn't sound like that. Yeah, like 2003 was kind of like the last decent year. Right? Interesting enough, that's also, of course, around that time things started going real super pop with the introduction of Kanye and Jeezy and Wayne and all that bullshit, right? And Eminem having his run continuing and all that stuff. But yeah, this is why I say that, like, really the last year that I remember, like, feeling that rap was really doing it, you know what I'm saying, was 03. And then once I started getting into 04, it was kind of like, you know, with a couple of underground releases and things like that. But it just started being like, huh? What is this shit? Like, this rap shit's falling the fuck off. Oh, let me go back and start listening to older stuff. But again, look at when Tyler came out. When Tyler came out, did he improve rap? No. He made rap shittier. Now, actually, let me hold up. Let me back up and give Tyler a little bit of credit. And I did say this in my Tyler the Creator Sucks video. One thing that Tyler did do was, at least because, again, as a meme, he did break the mold in terms of getting people to, because rap was very clean. I remember it was very that sort of ringtone rap goofy shit that was like very popular among children in particular, sort of the younger audience. And so there was something where we needed to get back to that sort of underbelly in rap, because rap comes from the underbelly and really in its best form should always address the underbelly. So Tyler the Creator visually came with that sort of underbelly. Of course, what was lacking was that the music was garbage, right? And even the visuals were kind of corny. But at least in a certain way, it got younger kids thinking back to, like, yeah, not everything has to be this glossed out, sort of super shiny, saturated video ringtone rap jingle shit, right? Like, yeah, you can make songs about just, you know, hanging out with your boys and, you know, skateboarding. Well, maybe not skateboarding, but again, like, get back to, like, just reality, right? And so I'll give Tyler that, I guess, in a sense, because, you know, in a way, having that wave, then of course you have the Lil B's and then even A$AP Rocky, like, they kind of came with after that with obviously better music, and then they changed rap. But you look back on that Odd Future shit, it was corny. It was corny. It didn't have no staying power. Let's be honest. You know, people remember the fact that he ate a roach, but when was the last time you heard someone play Goblin anywhere? You know what I'm saying? That stuff's garbage. And, like, this is the problem with the younger generation. They might not realize it, but the more that you continue to make garbage ass music, the more you just keep people like Nas and Jay and Coast, like, and them in power. Really, you know, it sucks. And that's why every new artist coming out now is going to be like, yo, I'm a throwback to, you know, when DMX remember when my tape was just like when DMX came out, but it's like, yo, there's been 20 fucking years since DMX or more. What about Tyler the Creator? Y'all don't want to talk about him? You're not the new version of Tyler the Creator? I wonder why that is, right? Because Tyler was not very good. And I think I shall end it on that. Lastly, actually, let's come back to this real quick. My community channel, if you don't know, I post some stuff in here, and so, you know, just every now and then. I would love for y'all to answer this question. You can answer it here, ideally, or you can do it in the comments. But let me know. I'm curious to know if you feel that you're a conformist versus a non-conformist. There's no judgment at all. It's not really a, you know, I'm just curious. Like, how do you see yourself, in a sense? And I wanted to sort of give a little bit more background to this. I mean, I feel like I'm definitely much more of a non-conformist, if speaking for myself. But again, I think I do conform to certain things. I'm not just like a non-conformist in all things. I mean, that's not true at all. And I definitely don't think that conforming is bad either. There are many things that are worth conforming to if they make sense, right? And then there's some things that are not worth conforming to. And, you know, vice versa in a sense, right? It's being a non-conformant nonconformist about stuff that like is just makes perfect sense to me is kind of corny, right? Like Tyler, right? In a sense, it was like, oh, I'm not gonna have a decent beat and rap on some real rap shit. So yeah, that's a little lame to me. So my point is, overall, do you feel that you're a conformist or a nonconformist? Let me know in the comments, okay? All right. Love y'all. Peace.